I remember the first time somebody identified me as a writer, and I was like, are you talking to me? Me? And this happened too when someone called me a journalist. I was like, me? And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it comes from a place of humility. I don't know if it comes from a place of insecurity. But I guess what I keep coming back to is it's the only identity for me that I feel like it works, like it's accurate. Like I don't know if I could really call myself anything else. And so I think, you know, the first step for me was and still is kind of settling into that, calling myself a writer, calling myself a creative, calling myself, by that name. I sometimes wonder if that is why I don't put more emphasis on my writing. I've gone through periods. It's definitely always been something that's been, I'm going to do it when I can. If I see a call for pitches, or if I see, a real a prompt. It's so funny. We started this conversation with like, I hate prompts. And now, I'm all of my freelance writing is pretty much based on like, send me your pitches. But, it's been hard for me, I think, to really identify some of those things. We had just talked about, capitalist hellscape, and my life is so consumed, I think, with work. You know what I mean? It turns into, trying to fit the writing in when I can, when the writing is something that I really enjoy. And I think a part of me is kind of resistant to the idea of turning it into a full-blown career, because I want to preserve the part of writing that I really love. You know what I mean? And some of that is that it's flexible, that I can write when I want to, and I can, I'm not on a deadline with most of my projects. I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes to freelancing and you pitch things, you have deadlines and you have to, abide by those things, and that's fine. But you can pick and choose when you want to take projects and when you don't want to take projects. So from that regard, I'm very fortunate that I have a stable income somewhere else, and that enables me to kind of engage in writing at a time and place and pace that feels comfortable for me. So in some ways, I don't want it to be a career, because I want to be able to preserve that part of the creative process that I really like, and the part of it that feels, I guess, more organic and less driven by, oh, I need to get this in soon because I need this money to pay my electric bill. But then there are other times, where it's like, well, this is one of the things that I really enjoy. And if I'm spending so much of my time working and so much of my time sleeping, and the only time I have left in the day is a handful of hours, wouldn't it be nice to spend all of my time doing something that I really enjoy? So I'm constantly vacillating between those two things, I think.
Well, I mean, I think what you're talking about, it resonates with me so much because you're describing my life to a T.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying about identity and preserving, like there is something liberating about being able to just do the projects you want to do without having to worry about like paying rent or eat, like buying food, for example, like like making a living, like being able to live off of that income. There's something very liberating about that, and I've been able to write some of my best music because it's like I don't have to worry about finishing this and rushing through it to get the fee, and I can like take as much time as I want and it's going to be great. But then you're right, I work a lot, and a lot of times the thing that gets like kind of put on the back burner the most is composing, and that's like a huge bummer. And so I'm constantly trying to like find the sweet spot, right? And like,
Yeah.
and I think what you said about identity, like, right, being a writer is like feels like the most appropriate label for your identity. I was talking with someone about that once because that's how I've always felt as a composer. Like I do all kinds of things, I wear all kinds of hats, but being a composer is who I am. It's like my identity. And this person told me like I understand that, but it's okay to like acknowledge your hats that you wear. You can be all of those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is true. And I think so many people wear so many hats now. It's It's not just necessarily related to work. You can be a mom, you can be a spouse, you can be you can be a writer, you can be an editor, you can be a cook, you can be I mean, there's so many different things that we all embody all the time. So it really doesn't need to be distilled down to one thing. I definitely agree with that, and that it's important that we hold space, I think, for all of the different hats that we wear, because that's kind of an inescapable reality of the world that we live in now. Like, if I think it's impossible in this day and age to really just be one thing. Constantly are having to adapt and be flexible and take one hat off and put a different one on.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.